My name is Greg Bogosian, and I love everything about New England. Each week, I travel the region searching for adventure. And along the way, I visit the places and the people that make New England extraordinary. This is New England like you've never seen it before. This is New England Traveler. My latest adventure in Salem was so big, we couldn't fit it into just one episode. So I invite you to join me for Destination Salem Part 2. Let's go. People from all over the world travel to Salem each year to experience one of the most historic cities in America. Attractions like the Salem Witch Museum, the Witch House, and the House of the Seven Gables have become as iconic as the city itself. My friend Kate Fox caught me up on all things that are new in this historic city, as well as one annual event that stands out on everyone's calendar every October.
So Haunted Happenings is an amazing combination of hundreds of events that are individually run and managed by the businesses and organizations of Salem. And then we tie it all together and wrap it up with a bow. So when people come to Salem, there is a plethora of opportunities of things to do to celebrate Halloween and fall in New England.
But Salem is about so much more than Halloween. Over the past several years, the city has transformed itself into a destination packed with events each month of the calendar year to give you reason to come back again and again.
So in January, we have the Comedy and Spirits Festival. February is Chocolate and Wine with Salem So Sweet. In March, Salem's Film Fest, which celebrates documentary films from around the world. We have Ancestry Days from all eras of Salem history in April. We celebrate the 4th of July right here on Derby Wharf every July 4th.
And after a spectacular celebration of America's birthday, summers in Salem wrap up with the Salem Maritime Festival in August, showcasing Salem's rich maritime history, which I experienced firsthand with my visit to Friendship of Salem. Before long, the leaves start changing and it's right back to Halloween and haunted happenings.
And the Salem Trolley does a Dickens Christmas Carol, which is a movable presentation of the classic, and it's amazing. They usually put the tickets on sale in September, and they sell out quick. I highly recommend to people who have not done the Trolley Christmas Carol to put it on your list.
On this summer day, I visited the Old Burying Point Cemetery. Opened in 1637, it is the oldest cemetery in Salem and among the oldest in the United States. It serves as the final resting place of several Salem notables. Adjacent to the cemetery is the Salem Witch Trials Memorial. The memorial consists of 20 granite benches, each engraved with the names of the victims of the Salem witchcraft trials of 1692. It's where countless visitors come to pay their respects and is a must-see when you make Salem your destination.
We're most known for the witch trials of 1692. That's why we're the Witch City, but it's this maritime story and being on the water that really made us an indelible piece of the American story and gave us the National Historic Site.
I always enjoy talking with Kate Fox about all there is to see and explore in Salem. The city is obviously rich in history, but what you may not know is that Salem's culinary scene rivals that of nearby Boston. Right on the water at Pickering Wharf, George Carey owns Finn's, which offers sushi and so much more in an upscale waterfront setting. Today, however, I'm kicking back and keeping it casual at George's other seaside eatery, Sea Level Oyster Bar, where culinary director Sari Keyser has invited me for a laid-back lunch. Tell me a little bit about your history with George Carey and Finn's and Sea Level, and what you do and how you got started, and tell me about you.
I started working for George about 20 years ago, moved back here from California. I was the chef of Finn's for about 8-9 years, and then became the culinary director once we opened up here at Sea Level. And then we opened up another Sea Level up in Newburyport. Then became the director of ops, and now part owner with George. So partners after 20 years, and it's great. So out here, they love their seafood. San Diego, you love your fish tacos. So we do have, bestseller, which you're going to try in a few. So there's quite a few little California twists on this menu.
I did see a couple of West Coast influences on the menu, like you said, the Baja fish tacos, which now I'm learning I'm going to try. I can't wait. That's awesome. For someone who's never been to Salem, what are some of the highlights of the must-sees and must-dos here in town?
It's, Salem, Witch City. You come in October, early September, and you get that vibe and that excitement in the air to walk around the streets, and you see all the witch, the witch dungeon and the witch museum. We have great tourism here. people come from all over the world just to see Salem and its beautiful history and people. It's a great, great city to live in.
We're going to break for a commercial and be right back.
This episode of New England Traveler is presented by Destination Salem.
Salem, Massachusetts is an amazing destination packed with historic attractions, museums, and of course the luxurious Salem Waterfront Hotel to serve as the home base for your stay. All of that exploring will definitely make you hungry, and there is no better place to satisfy your hunger than Sea Level Oyster Bar right on Pickering Wharf.
So, Siri, you work at both of these restaurants and Sea Level in Newburyport. Is there any competition between these restaurants? I mean, these guys are so close together, Fins and Sea Level, they're like right next door to each other.
Competition, there's a little competition. You know, the GMs or the chefs will banter back and forth on a Saturday of who's got the longer line out the door,
Right.
You know, who's a little bit busier.
Yeah.
It's all in good fun, but we're all one big family and down here on the wharf and we get along, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, everything on the menu looks pretty cool. What am I going to be eating today?
Baked seafood pie has been on the menu for a while now. You know, very rustic seafood, kind of classic here in New England. And then, you know, the Baja fish tacos, huge seller.
The Baja fish tacos, which have the southwestern influence that Siri mentioned. Of course, you have the little grilled lime on top. Now, I gotta be honest, because I lived in Southern California for so many years, now that I'm back in New England, fish tacos are probably the last thing that I would order on a menu, but because it's a Southwest influence and I lived there for so long, I've gotta try it. Here we go. The avocado, the guacamole on top, the crema fresca, and the crispiness of the fried fish. Oh, and it's spicy too. After having this Baja fish taco here at Sea Level in Salem for the first time, I would actually order this. It's good.
In this guy's opinion, nothing complements an amazing entree better than a specialty cocktail, and Sea Level is known for them.
My name is Lloyd Peters. I'm the bar manager here at Sea Level in Salem. I'm making one of my favorite cocktails. This is the Zombie Killer. It's got a gin, Deacon Giles, Liquid Damnation rum, pineapple juice, Coco Lopez, and a little bit dash of Angostura for a little bit of aromatics, and it just looks cool. I'm doing an ounce of each of these, ounce of the Coco Lopez, and then you're just gonna kind of top it off with the pineapple juice. You wanna shake this up real good. The pineapple juice actually makes kind of a foam on top, which is really cool. One of these.
All right, if you like tiki cocktails, sweet, fruity, rum-based, pineapple juice type drinks, you have to come down to Sea Level and try the Zombie Killer. It really is a killer of all the undead. Oh, that's a good drink.
So I'm gonna make for you right now the Bodhisattva. This is one of our most requested cocktails. It's a reference to Point Break. He's like seeking the ultimate ride, right? Well, we're gonna do cucumber and jalapeno. We're gonna muddle these up. And then elderflower and a little bit of New Age gin again. Get some ice. And then we're gonna strain it over fresh ice so you don't get any of that cucumber or jalapeno in your straw. And then garnish with a nice little fresh piece of cucumber.
There is definitely a jalapeno kick in this drink. The muddled jalapenos and lime. Wow. If you like spice, if you like jalapeno and cucumber, cheers. Do you have any closing thoughts, any final thoughts about Sea Level and you know, your experience here as Director of Operations?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, come down, check us out, and don't let the word sea, you know, throw a wrench in your curve here if you don't like seafood. You know, come down, we have plenty of options on the grill. We have great burgers. We have an awesome pulled chicken taco.
Sari, thank you very much.
I have only eaten oysters a handful of times, but one thing I have never done is shuck an oyster. George Carey volunteered to teach me how to shuck. This should be interesting.
George is kind enough to invite me to shuck some oysters. So George, take it away.
Here we go. So now you're going to make your own food. And these are Fox Island from Wellfleet. They're a great oyster, right down the Cape. Now oysters, the concept's not to go this way. Think like you're opening up a can of beer. Okay, there's two things on an oyster.
Okay.
There's the hinge and there's a muscle on top. We run the knife right along the top.
Oh.
It opens up just like a book and see it's beautiful. You cut it, then we flip it over. It's that easy. Work it in and then just really leverage this way.
Like this?
Yeah, keep going. Good.
That's harder than it looks, man, for the first time. It's gonna be a complete fail on camera.
No. So after about 400 of these, you'll get the hang of it.
Okay, this is one, $3.99 to go. Hold the bottom of the shell.
And lift the top off. Beautiful. I need 24, so I'll be back in about, 3 hours.
I'll be back. Thank you,
Good
man.
job.
Awesome.
Well done.
Shucking oysters at sea level with George Carey. Doesn't get any better than that. All right, this is kind of cool down here, Al. This is awesome. All right, cheers. Here we go. Here in Salem, you could probably spend an entire day exploring and eating your way through Pickering Wharf alone, but there's a lot more to see in this historic town.
On the way to my next stop, I'm making a quick detour to Salem Willows to visit Hobbs and sample some of their world-famous popcorn. The buttery, salty popcorn goodness of Hobbs really takes me back to being a kid growing up on the North Shore. Now it's time to sample something of a more adult nature. There are really great craft breweries all over New England that brew beer, but at Far From the Tree, the focus is all on cider. Al Snape is the owner of Far From the Tree Cider, and he has made a living off the fruits of his labor.
Al, how you doing?
Good, how are you? Thanks for coming by.
This is a cider making operation. Tell me about cider brewing.
Sure, so it's a lot different from beer because we're fermenting from fruit. It's more like wine in that way. When we're only getting our fruit once a year, we're not getting grains all year long, and we're getting local fruits. We're getting 100% New England fruit, most of it's from Massachusetts. We get those apples in, we grind them, we press them, we ferment them over the cold winter in our cellar, and then we make cider from it year round. So this is kind of what we get at the end of that process.
But why did you choose to make cider? Did you love cider as a kid growing up? What was that all about?
I grew up next to an orchard.
We found the X factor right there.
Yeah, so I don't know if I had a choice in doing it or not, but it was something I definitely felt connected to and just nostalgically felt good to me, growing up in New England next to one, growing up stealing apples from the orchard when I was a kid. And cider making for me felt like the perfect way to kind of express who I am and where I'm from.
Throughout the better part of the 18th and early 19th centuries, cider was the most common beverage in New England. It was cheap, easy to produce from local apples, stayed fresh longer than milk, and in many places actually safer to drink than water. In fact, the fizzy fermented beverage for a time was even more popular than ale, and in its sweet non-alcoholic form, safe for children to drink. Okay, I'm getting thirsty. Let's give it a taste, shall we?
Here at Far From the Tree, they have the Far From the Tree Ricky Cherry Lime Cider. I like the fact that you get all the cherry lime taste in there. It's not too sweet. It's a little bit dry. If you like a dry cider, and if you like a raspberry lime Ricky in the summertime like I do, then pop into Far From the Tree and try the cherry lime cider. This is delicious. Okay, next up is the Massachusetts, made from locally grown, Massachusetts-grown Macintosh apples only. I would compare it very much to a champagne or a Prosecco. It is dry, but it's also, there's a hint of sweetness in there from the Macintosh, which is really good. Next is strawberry basil cider. I love strawberries and I love basil and I love cider. The strawberry makes this very sweet, and the basil, you can really taste that in there.
All right, so far, the Massachusetts is coming in as my favorite cider, not just for the taste, but the name is pretty darn cool too. 3 down, 2 to go.
What is the canning process like?
What we do is we take the cider after it's fermented and we get it real cold, as close to freezing as we can, and then we force carbonate it with CO2. Something like this, what we're doing is we're adding a little bit of sugar, fermentation in the bottle, which creates carbonation. With cans, we're forcing that carbonation in as we're dissolving it, and then we're putting it into the cans and we're canning. And what's great is we have our own canning line, so if we want to do something really weird, small batch, we can can that, or do something small like that. So yeah, it's more beer, but it's a way to package our product in a way that we can get a lot of cool stuff out there to everybody.
Okay, I like IPAs, particularly the West Coast IPAs like a Lagunitas, so I was intrigued by the fact that they have a hopped cider. If you're a fan of IPAs, New England style IPAs in particular, and you like hoppy beers, then you might really enjoy the Nova Hop Cider here at Far From the Tree. Apple of My Chai is the exact name of this cider. Let's give this a run for its money. Here we go. There's the cinnamon in there, the black tea, and the cloves. Yeah, you can really taste a lot of different things. This really feels like fall in New England to me. As far as the winner goes, of all of the ciders that I've tasted here at Far From the Tree today, I have to go with... Okay, we came up with a name for the next Far From the Tree cider. It's either New England Traveler Cider or...
This episode of New England Traveler is presented by Destination Salem.
Okay, are we back? Did you guess? I don't think you got it. The Nova, because I love an IPA beer, and it just has that hoppiness to it that I really enjoy in a beverage. So cheers to Nova for being my favorite cider of the trip.
The crisp flavor of Nova cider at Far From the Tree really lends itself to be paired with a comfort food dish. Earlier in the show, I shucked oysters with Sea Level owner George Carey and had fish tacos with Siri Kieser. But honestly, my mind was focused on sampling one particular dish, the baked seafood pie.
Okay, I was not leaving Sea Level Oyster Bar before I tried the baked seafood pie. This is really a classic New England staple. I think most people who grew up here had this at some point or other in their lives if they like seafood. The breadcrumbs on top, the lemon, which I'm about to generously squeeze on the seafood. Okay, what I like about the seafood pie is that because it's covered in the breadcrumbs, that it's baked in the oven, you get a surprise every time you bite in and break through the crust. First couple bites was a shrimp, now there's a scallop, so bon appetit.
I think I found a new favorite dish at Sea Level. Lobster, scallops, shrimp, and mussels covered in breadcrumbs baked in the oven is a classic New England seafood dish. But sometimes you just gotta have a burger.
Sea is in the name of Sea Level Restaurant and Oyster Bar, but you don't have to be a seafood fan to come down here and enjoy yourself. They serve a delicious all-American burger, which I'm about to try right now, and it's so big that I'm gonna have to take the knife out and cut this bad boy in half. You don't have to like seafood to enjoy Sea Level. This proves it.
Now it's back to Far From the Tree to learn more about cider.
Al, you know, when you're making cider, you're not going to Market Basket to get your apples, right?
We'll do that once in a while when we were starting, but where we like getting really interesting apples is going out and finding them everywhere. What's really cool about New England is you have tons of old trees that are growing all over the place. Almost every town here, if you look hard enough, you'll see old trees growing by the road or abandoned orchards. And those are the trees that we like to go out and try. Some of them are okay. Some of them you'll try and they'll be super tannic and really have a lot of character, and no one's picking them, they're just sitting there. Those are the ones we love to go out and pick. We'll pick them, we'll press them, we'll make a little batch of cider from it, and if we love it, we'll go back year after year and we'll add that tree to our road map of where we like to kind of forage for cider. So we call it scrumping. Technically scrumping, it means kind of stealing apples traditionally. We're not stealing them, but what we're doing is we're going out and finding them and kind of hunting for them out throughout the New England area.
Al was nice enough to bring me down into the basement of Far From the Tree to taste some of the barrel-aged cider, which is not quite ready for canning yet or distribution to the public. So you can't drink it, but I'm gonna drink it for you and tell you all about it. So Al, take it away.
Sure, so this is a 3-year-old cider. It's been in barrels for 3 years, fermented down here in our cellar underground, and we're gonna taste it right now. It's just about ready for us to can.
Ooh, nice.
Ooh. This is called the cider. This is how we kind of taste the cider and see how it's coming along.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.
All right, check this out, barrel-aged cider. Okay, Al, I'm no expert, you are, so I want your professional opinion. Where are we with this barrel-aged cider in the process of selling it to a consumer? How close are we?
We're really, really close. It's just about there. It's gone through its primary fermentation. It's been aging down here for 3 years, and it's picked up some really nice aromas and flavors from the barrel. But it's also had time to not just go through the alcoholic fermentation, but also through a malolactic fermentation, which gives it a really nice kind of buttery, kind of oaky note too that really marries well with the barrel aging. So you get some oak and aromas on there, but you get the butteriness from the malolactic fermentation.
All right, can we drink this?
Absolutely.
All right, cheers. Here we go. But this is a really nice cider. What are you going to call this one?
I don't know yet.
Really? Okay, we came up with a name for the next Far From the Tree cider. It's either New England Traveler Cider or knock on wood, that cider's good. What do you think, Al?
I think they're both pretty good. I like the second one a little bit.
Does.
We'll drink and talk about it.
We will. All right. He's the owner. He gets the final say. I just get to drink it. So cheers, Al.
In this episode, I began part 2 of my Destination Salem adventure exploring some of Salem's historic sites. Then I made my way to Sea Level Oyster Bar on Pickering Wharf, where George Carey taught me how to shuck an oyster. Later, I met Al Snape, owner of Far From the Tree Cider Brewery. Al and I sampled some cider fresh from the barrel.
All right, cheers. Here we go.
And I learned all about scrumping and the process of turning wild apples into delicious cider.
Apple of my chai is the exact name of this cider. Let's give this a run for its money. Here we go.
I hope you enjoyed Destination Salem Part 2. I'm Greg Bogosian. I'll see you next time on New England Traveler.